Hi folks, it's me, Hannah. Hey. Trying to warm up my voice. Okay. Second time's a charm. Hi folks, it's me, Hannah. Hey. Okay. Guess what? I'm in a bit of a situation right now. I have no panties left to wear at this time. Well, actually I do. I have some on my dining table, but I'm saving them for a video, a YouTube video. So yeah, so I need to get me a pair of panties, and I have an extra pair in my car. So mission at this time is to retrieve the extra pair of panties in my car. Yeah. Not to worry, I am wearing a fluffy little short skirt. Well, what's fun in going out without panties if I weren't wearing a short little skirt? Yeah, so feels a little bit more exciting. All right, so I am going to head over to my car right now. All right, first things first, I have to make sure that the coast is clear. Okay, so if you're guessing this video is about panties, then you are correct. Well, partially, because this video is about pads as well. Yep. So this video is about panties and pads, feminine pads. Yep. Okay, so the stance is like, yes, very feminine and flat, which means it ain't got no room for penises. Yep. So if there's a penis and to fit into panties, the penis may need to be tucked or converted into a vulva. That's right. Okay, so coming out can be I put my earring off. I have to put my earring back on. Dangling earring. There. Okay, so this video is based on my own male to female transitioning experience. Yours might have been different from mine, and that's cool. Yep. Coming out can be an overwhelming experience, especially those coming out in the later years, especially those who had spent years up to the point of coming out trying to live up or maintain some unrealistic male self-image,
Right. So it's one thing to read about things and study about things, and it's another thing altogether to actually experience things, right? Right. And panties are not an exception to this. Yeah. So panties, pretty simple stuff, right? Basic stuff. But for someone like, at least in my case, when I was closet dressing, trying to live up to a guy image in the real world, including at my work, at home, it's
At home, meaning out of the closet.
there's a matter of like feeling like a necessity to keep it a secret, keep the panties a secret. So, well, in order to facilitate keeping a secret, I had to reduce the number of panties. So I kept one panty, a pair of panties, and that's pretty much it. Yep. And at that time, for me, it didn't really matter exactly what kind of panties it was, as long as it was panties, because the idea was women's garments, right? As long as I was getting to wear women's garments, I was able to relieve myself. Relieve myself. Yep. So, yeah. But closet dressing is closet dressing, right? It can be detached from reality. There's no requirements, right? To get a reality check on things. For example, my eyeshadows. Much like the panties, it was a matter of simply wearing eyeshadows that was able to help me feel relieved. Yep. So yeah, it didn't matter, what color eyeshadows I was wearing. It just, the whole idea was getting to wear eyeshadows, and that was enough for me to release myself. Yep, at the time. So, but in the real world, upon coming out and living real time, full time as a woman, all these fantasies and all these little closet dressing setups get tested in the real world environment. And at least in my case, pretty much all of that closet dressing setup just fell apart. And panties fell apart.
Well, figuratively speaking, of course. Literally speaking, Mr. Wiggles liked to destroy panties. It was like I had a pair of panties, and it only lasted for like 3 closet dressing sessions. Yep. Yeah, that's right. Yep. I was like, Mr. Wiggles, you need to tuck so that you'd fit really nice and flat in the panties. And Mr. Wiggles was like, no, I'm a man. I need to be strong and big and hard. So he'd fight me, and then in the process, the panties, were getting destroyed. Yep. Now you know.
So talking specifics, I was aware that despite my wearing women's clothing, despite my wearing makeup, I wasn't actually looking like a diva. I was still looking very much like a guy back then. So with that mindset, I was able to conduct my closet dressing session in a healthy and in touch manner, right? I told myself, okay, this is a closet dressing session, nothing more, nothing less. I am going to disconnect the reality checks, such as appearance checks and stuff, possibility and stuff, out of the equation during this session. And I'm just going to enjoy the fact that I could wear women's clothing, I could wear makeup, and I could try different ways of tucking so that things are nice and flat down there. Yep. So in that setup, I didn't have to care about like if the makeup styling that I was wearing was appropriate for example, business casual environments, for example, like going out to dinner environments and stuff. I didn't have to care if my methods of tucking could survive real world tests and challenges in the areas of durability and appearance. Yep, I could pretty much do however I wanted, basically, in the privacy of my little apartment, and didn't have to care about like the methodologies being realistic and stuff. Right. Okay, so in the panties department, at the time during my closet dressing days, I was basically living a double life. Outside of the closet as a guy, and inside the closet, I was able to do closet dressing sessions and stuff in the privacy of my little apartment. But because I was living a double life and still acting very much a guy outside,
I was still very much wired as a guy.
I was finding it extremely difficult to visit a women's section at a clothing store, and especially like shopping for panties and stuff.
If you're a guy watching this video, you probably understand exactly what I'm talking about. Yep.
So it's basically like the best way I could explain it is the wiring, the programming up there. Shortly after HRT and the testosterone levels went down in my case, just suddenly I didn't have those resistances in me anymore to feel like deathly afraid of shopping in the women's sections of a clothing store and stuff. Yep. So back then I was having difficulty buying like panties in person at a store. Alright. On top of that, the cotton panties weren't exactly working out well for me. They weren't really like ideal for tucking and stuff, like to be used as a tool for tucking and stuff. Yep. So they could be used with proper tucking, but they cannot be used to properly tuck.
If that makes sense to you, but that's the best way I could explain it at this time.
Yeah. So I was trying to find different like alternative methodologies, something that I could easily access and stuff, and refill my inventory if needed. Yep. So one day I was shopping at a clothing store, and in the men's section I was looking at looking for some underwear. Not necessarily for tucking purposes, but I needed underwear. So I was looking for underwear, and I noticed on the shelf were packets of Euro-style underwear.
Well, European style underwear were more like swimming trunks without the little opening in front.
So I thought to myself, well, maybe I could just get them, and I could wear some of them as guy underwear, and some of them I could probably convert them into panties at home. So I bought that little packet of underwear, and when I got home, I compared that to panties. I mean, what was making this underwear look like a men's underwear, and my panties look like a women's underwear? So what I found was, like, I'm going to use this pair of panties as an example here. If I were to fold this pair of panties lengthwise, it's nice and symmetric. And if I were to look from the side here, see how the front, see how the front is nice and straight. Yep. If I were to use this other pair of panties, symmetric. See how the front is nice and straight here as well. Well, on the briefs, on the Euro-style briefs, this area wasn't straight. This area was like a little bit outwards and then folded in.
I guess to be a bit more roomy when wearing with male parts.
So I was like, ding, I could probably fold that pair of briefs lengthwise, like so, and I could just stitch, a straight stitch down the middle, maybe a couple of stitches for added durability, and I could just snip off the excess. So I tried that, and it worked. Yep. So now within minutes, I had a pair of panties instead of briefs. And the nice thing about that re-engineered, pair of panties,
Converted briefs into panties,
is the seam that was there from the stitches. I was using straight stitch, so straight stitch was helping reduce the amount of stretching in this area, like lengthwise stretching, right? So that was nice. When I pulled it up, with Mr. Wiggles kind of pointed backwards, that area kind of helped push Mr. Wiggles in my case, Mr. Wiggles, right? And it even formed a little bit of a vulva shape to things down there. So I was like, sweet. And yeah, and I tried that on, and it felt really nice and comfortable. And it was just right. I didn't have to use tape or anything. So yeah, that was a viable method of, or a viable option of tucking that I could use at the time. I learned at the time. Okay, so I was feeling quite proud of myself at the time, because my little converted panties, briefs into panties technique was working out quite well for me. In fact, it was working out so well that during my early days of coming outside of work, I was able to use that in public and stuff. Yeah, with an exception of skirts and miniskirts.
Skirts and miniskirts, I couldn't wear those because of the appearance. They weren't panties.
So they looked like not so graceful looking panties with like a giant seam in front. Yep. So yeah. But other than that, that little arrangement was working out well for me until I came out at work. At work, that little setup literally fell apart. I was a field service engineer at the time, and my work at the time was involving working with industrial machines in industrial production environments. So with that, it's not like sitting behind a desk kind of a work. But there were times when I needed to kind of like position my body inside the machines that I was working with in certain ways. And there were times when I was having to like go inside the machines and position myself, like sit down in a certain way just to gain access to the components there. So there were some not so graceful positions involved, and there were times when I was having to squat down, for example, to lift a heavy object, to properly lift a heavy object.
As in, back straight, lifting with legs and stuff. Yep.
There was a time when one of the two rows of stitching on the seam just simply like gave out, like book, 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 and I was like, one row of stitching gone, one row of stitching left.
The seams on the converted brief panties were having real hard times holding together. Yep.
I was realizing that I'd need to find a better solution to the converted brief panties thing. Yep. In a sense, I was realizing that I couldn't really like use my little closet dressing setup in the panties area anymore in the real world. Yep. So that takes us to the next section of the video, which is getting into panties. Yep.
Actual panties, not converted panties, real panties. Yeah.
Disclaimer, I'm neither sponsored nor endorsed by any of the brands and or distributor companies and or stores mentioned in this video. Yep. So I was shopping online one day and I found these on Amazon.com. These panties are unique in that they're a little bit different from cotton panties like such as these, in that these panties are essentially like a giant panties shaped elastic. Yep. So back then, when I first got these panties, I really liked them because the elastically material was able to move with Mr. Wiggles as he was moving about and wiggling about.
Mr. Wiggles could wiggle freely, but then he couldn't really wiggle himself out of the panties. Yep.
That was really, really nice. I didn't have to use tape. I could just wear these panties and Mr. Wiggles could stay in place nice and tucked. But these panties weren't able to nicely conceal Mr. Wiggles' physical form.
For example, if I were to stick my fingers behind these panties, see how like the shape of my fingers are clearly visible here from outside of the panties? Yeah.
So I was like, okay, maybe I should be using something in between Mr. Wiggles and the panties. Yep. It just so happened that at the time I was like taking anti-androgens as part of my HRT treatment, and one of the side effects was peeing like a lot. And one of the things I was noticing at the time was I wasn't having my usual level of control in terms of controlling the pee. So,
and it's not just peeing a lot. It was more like if I were to even think potty, Mr. Wiggles would be like, release the valves. And
that's kind of what was happening. So I was like, okay, how about pads? If I were to wear maxi pads in between, that's thick enough, then it could help in terms of like leakage protection, and it could help in terms of helping these panties conceal Mr. Wiggles. Yep. So entered maxi pads. Okay, so here's the thing. Back then, so yes, I had accepted the existence of my gender dysphoria, and yes, I was doing something about it by transitioning. But yeah, it's just because I was a transgender
transitioning male to female transgender
didn't necessarily mean that I knew everything about anything that had to do with women, right? Right. So, yeah. So nice. I put my leg up, see? I should turn the camera around and show you my messy table. And there, my sexy legs. Right there. I need to fix my chair. Yep. So now that you've seen my secrets, I need to clean my table, I need to fix my chair. Let's talk about pads. Alright, so, okay. In my mind, I was thinking, alright, 2 requirements. One was to help protect against leakages, and 2 was to conceal Mr. Wiggles. So, as an engineer, I thought, alright, needs an absorption layer, and to conceal, comfortably conceal, the layer needs to be thick. So 2 requirements, right? Right. Pretty reasonable, right? Right. So I went to the store, and at the time I wasn't aware of the fact that there were different size maxi pads and different volume ratings to maxi pads in terms of the amount of fluids they can absorb, etc., etc. Yep, but I didn't care. That wasn't part of the requirements, the list of requirements that I had at the time. So I went to the store. I found a nice thickly designed.
This is a thickly designed. Well, I'm sure you know what I mean. Designed in a thick way.
Maxi pads, and they were quite reasonably priced. So I bought a box of them. These were nice because they were thick and they were like pillowy, so Mr. Wiggles could just sink, in and be concealed. Not a concealed weapon, but a concealed Mr. Wiggles. That's right, a concealed Mr. Wiggles.
A concealed Mr. Wiggles. Yeah.
So halfway into the box of using these maxi pads, I discovered thinner maxi pads. Always maxi pads for women. Thinner, right? Compared to this, see, it's a lot thinner. And for my needs, this was able to satisfy all three requirements as well. Yeah, leakage, Mr. Wiggles concealing Mr. Wiggles, and the price tag was also quite reasonable at the time. So I tried these on and I really liked these. So yep. Then one day I discovered panty liners.
I know, right? I discovered panty liners. Hannah's amazing discovery.
So, listen, I saw a box of these on the shelf and I thought they were just like regular maxi pads. So I bought them, and then when I got home, I learned that they weren't like maxi pads, They were a lot smaller. So comparing the sizes.
There.
And then I remembered the rich size. So the rich size, like on these panties, turned out that the liners were, the size of the liners, the dimensions of the liners were just the size for this size of ridges. Yep, panty ridges. So here, I put one on earlier on one of the cotton panties. See how neat and tidy it looks? Yep, it's like the length is actually about the same as the ridge area. So there's seam, yep. And these are really, really nice because back then I wasn't expecting the panty liner to kind of like work as a reinforcement. So remember when I mentioned the cotton panties were kind of like getting destroyed by Mr. Wiggles and stuff? Well, with panty liners, Mr. Wiggles couldn't destroy the panties anymore. The stretching this direction, like this direction, it's like, it's not stretchy anymore. It's nice and just, nice and strong. And the material is soft enough and comfortable enough for Mr. Wiggles to kind of snuggle in there comfortably. And because of the design of the panties, it's really, really nice. It really helped transform the these kind of cotton panties into like something that I could actually wear with Mr. Wiggles. Yep. So what exactly are panty liners? Yep. Well, panty liners are basically lower volume rated maxi pads, right? Right. And they're smaller in size and a little less obvious to wear. So I could wear panties with panty liners inside and nobody would know.
Unless, of course, if I told them, or if they had X-ray vision, a couple of examples.
Pre-op, as I mentioned, they were very helpful in helping me tuck Mr. Wiggles. Post-op, they are really, really helpful in keeping things nice and dry. They're able to catch like a drop or two of like leakage and or sometimes I may have like medicine down there for mysticals to help with the pH and stuff, and that medicine can stain. It's a little bit yellowish in color. It can stain, and wearing like panty liners like this can really help not only protect the stains from like going out and staining like skirts and stuff. The panty liners can really protect like panties. Yep. Panty liners can really help keep things nice and clean and nice and tidy stuff. Yep. Well, I'm going to show you a really cool maxi pad I bought from Thailand. This is how the packet looks like. It's written in Thai. And the brand seems to be called Sophie. Yep. 29 stands for 29 centimeters, so that's how long the pad is.
Basically, the larger the surface area, the more volume of discharge that the pad can capture, right? Right. And it's the longer the centimeters, the length, the greater the volume can be compared to similar width, similar thickness, similar brand of pads, right? Right. At least in concept.
In Thailand, the pads seem to be rated that way in centimeters in length, whereas in US seems like the brands seem to use picture scales such as this picture scale. This is the pad, and it seems to be the 4th size, right? Right. And with wings, yep. And compared to this, first size without wings, and then those were always, and it looks like Kotex is using a picture scale as well. All right, How about the liners? I think the liners are roughly like very similarly sized anyway, so I don't think there's a size when it comes to liners. Yeah. I'm gonna show you the Thai maxi pad. Ta-da! That's the top area. Bottom area. So comparing to, well, this is a 29 centimeter heavy duty pad, so I'm going to compare it to Always's heavy duty pad. This way I'm comparing apples to apples, more or less. Yep. Okay, so there. This is how Always looks like. This is how Sophie looks like. The size is more or less the same, but here's the difference. Well, they both have wings, but the Thai version has a nice butt coverage. Yep. And that I found real helpful during my recovery at the hospital during my SRS visit in Bangkok in April and May of this year. Yep. Again, disclaimer, to each its own. In my case, during my SRS surgery trip, post-op, I found that panties with an increased width is actually more practical, because for a reason, at least for a reason, like the width of the pads, right? So yeah, it's a lot more practical and it's a lot more comfortable. And post-op, I mean, in my case, I didn't have a reason to wear the panties so tightly. Mr. Wiggles was no longer there for me to hide and tuck and stuff like that. I could wear the panties nice and loose and comfortable. So these panties, these are Fruit of the Looms. These are really nice. These are comparable to like these panties that I got from Zulily. In a sense that the width here is very similar, but whereas these are kind of like regular profiled, these are kind of higher profile, like mom panties, right? Thongs, a major no-no, because after surgery there could be pads and stuff, and thongs are not the best kind of panties to wear with pads. So, and yeah, post-op, with surgery areas and stuff, yeah, these can go into like certain places and stuff, and no, thongs are not recommended during an SRS trip. I mean, boy shorts, I love boy shorts, the look of boy shorts, the feeling, the comfort, but these, see the width here is comparable to the width of these in the middle. So that said, I didn't have these when I was in Thailand, but I'm guessing like yeah, the functionality wise, you know, it's probably similar to these. But, in my case, when I went to get surgery, I took a bunch of these cotton panties because I had wanted to see myself like in these panties as a woman with a vulva. So yeah, it's one of my dreams, you know, that I wanted to kind of see myself in these panties. So nice and flat and sexy.
Not really flat, but it's so nice and just like womanly. Yep.
Yep, and sexy. So I took with me a bunch of these, but then I couldn't really wear these for about a couple of weeks after surgery because I was getting a major camel toe in front because Miss Tickles was pretty swollen in the front area, and so swollen Miss Tickles was kind of pushing the panties out, you know, in the top area, and it was kind of like pulling like that. And in the absence of Mr. Wiggles, you know, pushing the panties back out, well, guess what? Camel toe. Yep. So I couldn't wear these for a couple of weeks.
For the first 2 weeks post-op, I couldn't wear them. I was like, I really wanted to wear them.
But after a couple of weeks, I was able to wear these just fine, especially with a nice, like, cushiony, pillowy maxi pad, such as this Sophie maxi pad from Thailand. Yep. So, yep, that pretty much covers what I wanted to talk about in this video about panties and pads. I think the trick is to keep a poker face on. This way, nobody suspects a thing. I'm opening the front door. Okay, I have opened the front door. Perimeter clear. I'm proceeding with caution. So, I have arrived at my car and I have retrieved my little bag containing a pair of gloves, an extra pad, and my panties. Mission successful so far. Alright, time for me to head back to the apartment. Okay, so I have arrived back in my apartment and I have successfully retrieved my pair of panties from my car. Star! Mission successful. So, was Hannah actually not wearing panties when she went to her car to pick up a pair of panties in her fluffy little miniskirt? I say that's a good question. Haters!